Go is a really versatile and fast programming language that is relatively new, but very, very popular. And you can do even more with Go by automating it. In Kestra's recent 0.23 release, we introduced an official Go plugin, which now means you can build workflows to execute your Go code. I'm going to walk you through how you can fully integrate your Go code into a Kestra workflow so you can get the most out of it. Now, when you first load up Kestra, you'll see that there are two different tasks for Go. We've got a commands task as well as a script task. Now, what you need to know here is that a script task allows you to write your Go directly inside of your workflow. This is great for smaller tasks where you just need to write some code, but you don't want to have to deal with a dedicated file. But as soon as you start working on a larger project where you might have multiple files, or you're going to run it through Git where you're going to version control it, then using the commands task is definitely the better option here, because then you can easily pass the code in by either adding it as a namespace file, or you can automatically pull it in from a Git repository. Now here I've got a workflow that's going to use the commands task, and we're going to use a namespace file to be able to add our Go code. Now, as you can see here, I've got namespace files enabled so that the task here can access them. If I select files, what I need to do now is create a new file, which I can do here. And I'm just simply going to call my file main.go. And once I've done that, we can see that now I can add my code in, which I can do like so. And I can press save. So now that when I go back to my code, and we can just close that file tab for a second now, I will be able to press execute, and we'll see that it's going to execute our Go code. Now it's worth specifying that when you run code by default inside of Kestra, it's going to automatically spin up a container to run it in. And as you can see here, you can see that it's created that container and volume to be able to run the code. It's done it, it's produced the hello world message that we had inside our code, and then it's deleted that container and volume. Now we can also write the Go directly inside of the workflow with a script task. Now this task I quite like because not only are we writing it directly into the side of the workflow, but we're also able to pass in variables as well. So here I have two inputs. The first one here is called message, and the second one is called a number. And as you can see here, using an expression, I'm able to just dynamically pass that data directly into the code, and then I can use it inside of my code. Super useful if you want to pass in something like configuration. But now if I press execute, I can change the number here to be 8. And now when I press execute and have a look at the logs, what we'll see is it's going to produce 8 as the number and still the correct message. So as you can see, it's worked just as we expected. And we did that all thanks to the workflow having the Go code directly inside of it. Now, some input types where they may be slightly more complex. So for example, here we have an array of strings. That can be a little bit harder to pass directly inside of Go, but you can still do it. So for example, here, we're able to pass in that array of strings as a string, and then we're able to then convert it back into an array. So while some things maybe are easy, like adding a string or an integer and just passing that directly in, some things might require a little bit more manipulation to get it into the format you need. Now, another key part of a task in Kestra is producing output, so you can use that data in tasks after the task has run, and the Go code is no exception. Now, this works whether you are writing it as a dedicated file or if you're writing it directly inside of your YAML, whereas the expressions only work directly inside of the YAML. Here, we're able to pass a dictionary of data back to Kestra. And so here, as you can see, we've got the data here passed in. Now we have had to use a few backslashes here because we're using quotes inside of quotes, but we've got outputs, which is going to pass it test, value, int is 2, bool is true, and float is 3.65. So here, if I press execute, what we'll see is it's going to produce those values like so. And then here we can see all of that data directly inside of the outputs tab, ready for us to use in a later task. So I can get that integer or the float or the Boolean or the test. So lots of options there if you want to be able to pass variable data back out of the code so you can access it in a later task. And speaking of that, we actually have an example here that I can show you that's going to use that data in those later tasks. So here I'm using an expression to access those outputs so I can print them to the logs. So let's execute this, and we can see here, once it runs, I'll be able to see in the logs that it was able to produce the values that we wanted. So here we can see 2, here we can see value as expected. And again, I can access those inside of outputs as well. Now, we did mention about being able to pass files into your Go, but you can also create files and produce them out. So to add a file, simply all we have to do is do input files like so, and then specify the name of the file. So for example, I might want to add a file that's called data.csv, and then I will just specify with an expression where I might find that. And let's say I'm just going to make it an input, so we can do that like so. And I can set it to the type file. And then here I can just simply make my input.file. So now I can pass in an input called data.csv and it will name it that. And then it will just be accessible. So then I can just read a file just like I would running Go anywhere else, and it will have access to that file automatically. Now, similar sort of idea with output files as well. Again, all I've got to do is just save the file inside of Go, just like I would on any other system, and just specify what I'm expecting to get so we can make sure that's accessible. Now, you can also add things like an asterisk, so you can say anything with a txt file I want to be able to access, and it will find that. But if you know you're expecting a specific file, so like in this scenario, I'm looking for output.txt, I can execute that too. So let's just remove that input for a second. And then what I'm going to do is press execute. We'll see that it's going to generate us a dedicated file, and then we can use that in later tasks. So we can see here under output files, it did create a file. And you can see it says hello Go, which is what the YAML code said. And then we can actually see under logs that it did actually access that in a later task by reading the file. So lots of options here if you want to be able to create variables, but also if you'd rather just create a dedicated file, maybe you've got a bunch of data that you're manipulating with Go, and then you want to be able to upload it to a data warehouse, then you can use a dedicated task after the Go code to upload that. Another thing that you might want to do along with outputs is generate metrics. This is good for being able to track things like how long a task took or a certain counter. So here's an example of where we've got some metrics being generated and then how we can pass those back to Kestra so we can view them in the UI. So as you can see here, we're doing the same sort of syntax that we did in the previous example where we're putting things inside of double colons. So here we've got outputs and we're generating an output called product count, but we also want to be able to make some metrics here. So as you can see, the metrics are generated by creating an array of objects. So we've got name, product count, the type is a counter and the value is 20. And then again, the same here for the purchase time. This type is a timer rather than a counter. And then the value is a floating point. So if I execute this now, what we'll be able to see is it's going to generate those metrics and we'll be able to view them under the metrics tab. So here we can see those types are in fact different and the values are what we expected. So really useful if you're trying to maybe time how long a task took or particularly want a particular metric, and you don't want to have to specify these under outputs where it can get a little bit lost, and you don't want to access these in other tasks because metrics are very much you create them and they're accessible as part of the execution, but you can't pass them between tasks in the same way that you can with outputs. What I did in those previous examples was use the Docker task runner to be able to execute Go. But you can also use the process task runner to run it as a sub-process on the Kestra host. But to do that, you do need to have Go installed. So if you're running Kestra using a .jar file, then just make sure that you've got Go installed on your system. But if you're using Docker, then what you can do is set up with the Docker Compose file. Instead of using the Kestra image, you can use a dedicated Docker file. And so as you can see here, I've specified to use the Kestra image. Then I've told it to install Go on top of that image, and then it's going to start Kestra using the server command. So now inside of our Docker Compose file, we don't need the image property and we do not need the command property. So now if I type Docker Compose up, we should see that it's going to start building our Docker image using this Docker file as a basis. So this is useful as well if you need any other dependencies installed where you want it accessible across the system, not just every time that you run your workflow. This is a great way to do that. So we can see that it successfully runs. So if I now go to localhost 8080, we can see that I can now create my first flow. We can see that I've got a workflow here that's going to use the process task runner. Now, if I ran this on my previous instance of Kestra, this would have failed because Go didn't exist. But once I execute this, you can see that it was in fact successful using the process task runner, and it was able to say hello world as expected. And as we can see, it did it in less than 1 second, which is a lot quicker than having to spin up containers every single time you want to run a workflow. So if you're running Go where you want to be able to share dependencies across different workflows and you want to avoid using Docker containers, then this is a great approach of being able to install it on the system if you're using Docker to deploy Kestra, and then access it between your workflows. So hopefully that gives you a good idea of how you can use Go directly inside of Kestra and how you can fully integrate it to access things like files, outputs, and metrics. Let me know in the comments below if there's something missing that you'd love to see in a future video, and I'd also love to hear how you're using Go inside of Kestra.